Matthew Vaughn hasn't made a sequel until now, despite teeing up two franchises with Kick-Ass 2010 and X-Men: First Class 2011, which were then taken over by different filmmakers to varying results. He must have felt a deep connection to Kingsman: The Secret Service 2014, adapted from Mark Millar's comic book, which combined Pygmalion with a cartoonish pastiche of James Bond and TV's The Avengers 1961-69. Kingsman: The Golden Circle lacks the storytelling robustness and stamina of its predecessor, and uses a familiar bag of tricks, but what it lacks in originality it makes up for in terms of sheer spectacle, gorgeous production design, and high-energy mayhem. London Street Brad Eggsy Onwyn Taron Egerton has assumed the mantle of Agent Galahad from murdered mentor Harry Hart Colin Firth, and is now a debonair Kingsman without itching his working-class accent and down-to-earth nature. He even hangs with his ne'er-do-well mates in a council flat, so in some ways his role as Taylor has become a secret identity, with his job as a world-saving secret agent a deeper level of secrecy. Unfortunately, when every Kingsman facility is destroyed by missiles launched by a mysterious enemy, Eggsy and Merlin Markstrong are the only survivors and activate a doomsday protocol that sends them to Kentucky, USA. Once there, they make contact with a related secret organization, the Statesmen, led by the affable Champagne Jeff Bridges, and ask for their assistance in finding and defeating their attacker. The villain this time is Poppy Julianne Moore, ostensibly the most successful businesswoman in the world, but because her business is the manufacture and sale of illegal drugs, she lives a life of seclusion in Cambodia. There, she's created Poppy World, a secret lair containing buildings that evoke 1950s Americana, a neon-signed diner, ice cream parlor, bowling alley, and a diner where she puts henchmen through a meat grinder to make yummy burger patties. Similarly to Secret Service's villain, played by Samuel L. Jackson, Poppy is often quite immature and cruel, with a plan to force the legalization of drugs by infecting her clientele with a virus that causes blue vein rashes, dancing, paralysis, then death. So whereas last time the baddie held the world to ransom using SIM cards in mobile phones, this time it's junks or innocents who take drugs for a variety of reasons, not that the right-wing President Bruce Greenwood has any sympathy. He just thinks Poppy's genocide is about to do him a favor by eradicating all drug users. There are some thought-provoking ideas in Golden Circle, but they flash by and aren't properly dealt with. This is an unfortunate side effect of having plenty of time to do them justice. The movie 141 minutes, but more inclination to focus on the action set pieces and comedy interludes. In some ways Golden Circle is a rehash of the first movie, only with Eggsy having to bring Harry back into the Kingsman way after it's revealed TWASNT fatally shot dead in Secret Service, but even that reversal of their roles doesn't fuel the entire movie. It's the kind of movie where you sense Vaughn and co-writer Jane Goldman simply wanted to do the same thing again, only bigger and hopefully better. I think more of Golden Circle works than I was expecting based on negative reviews floating around, even acknowledging the fact there's nothing new here. It also doesn't help that Poppy doesn't get to interact with any of the heroes until the finale, while there's a real sense this sequel is happy to kick back and present you with lots of cool stuff rather than develop a coherent storyline that gives each character enough to be doing. Thankfully, much of it's very entertaining and goes down well from the alternate world of the Statesman outfit where agents are codenamed after liquor, and they use tricked-out lassos and whips, to Poppy's fantasy land of colorful U.S. nostalgia, man-eating robotic guard dogs, and a kidnapped Elton John forced to play his greatest hits on the piano. And that's a cameo that keeps growing, starts becoming unfunny, then becomes so unfunny it's funny once Elton's mugging to camera. A few things let down the Secret Service for me, and that was its undercurrent of laddish humor and questionable use of female characters. Golden Circle doesn't redress all those issues. Roxy, the only female Kingsman, returns as glorified tech support before dying, but there are things that make this sequel richer and more palatable. The best decision is Eggsy now having a meaningful and touching relationship with posh Princess Tilda Hannah Alstrom, who was the subject of a misfiring anal joke that caused controversy before. Halle Berry isn't undermined as Merlin's equivalent ginger ale, and of course, the antagonist this time is a woman in her late 50s. However, this is still a movie aimed at teenage boys and young adult men, whom Vaughn thinks will give Fawd a scene where Eggsy has to vaginally insert a tracker on a Glastonbury hippie Poppy Delavingia. The thinking behind these scenes is that they're provocative and memorable, which may be true, but they also come across as unnecessary adolescent in their thinking. I'd love to know if Jane Goldman comes up with these ideas, trying to imagine what would titillate a schoolboy watching Kingsman movies, or if Vaughn throws them in because he can't resist. And if they're actually supposed to satirize the misogyny of James Bond in some way, then more work has to be done. I'd be lying if I said Golden Circle's problems crippled the movie for me, as I still found this a fast-paced and enjoyable movie with fantastic moments and a febrile imagination. It's a shame the script didn't tackle the obvious problems with the storyline and a few characters' lack of depth, plus the noticeable tendency to just repeat what worked before with only very minor changes. Last time there was a disabled henchman with false legs, this time there's a disabled henchman with the robotic arm, but the audience for Kingsman will very likely enjoy the sugar rush of subversive silliness. Director, Matthew Vaughn. Writers, Jane Goldman, Matthew Vaughn. Starring, Colin Firth, Julianne Moore, Taron Egerton, Mark Strong, Halle Berry, Elton John, Channing Tatum, Jeff Bridges.